Is actually coming close to an end. Yes, this series is actually coming close to an end. At least this season of the series. So this is an alternate timeline of Asia rose instead of Europe. So this is the interwar period. The world population has actually started to increase a lot, basically, but this is going to be the rise of dangerous ideologies plus decolonization. A lot of countries' economies were wrecked by the war. They were destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. The first country's economy was destroyed was the country of Sifa. So Sifa, their economy was kind of destroyed, basically, and basically they have several colonies. Including this colony here, which they just granted its independence, basically. They basically grant this country their independence here, and they grant this little island their independence, which makes them an independent state. The capital, which was the original capital here, down here, there's also the Maki colonies, whereas these ones joined this country, and that was a vote. And these 5 islands here formed to create their own country. Here, with the capital being right around here. So 2 countries have been formed already because of this. This is the end, beginning of the end of the colonial era. For Sao and the Xi'an Islands have gained their independence. So these are the first 2 colonies that truly gained their independence. This colony did not gain its independence, decided to unite with Vance, as most of the people who live in this colony are people from that country. This was basically like 80% of the immigrants were people from Vance and Zhao, so that country has basically just been absorbed here. Now, we're going to talk about the North American colony of Sifa, which is this country right here, and they also gained their independence as well. Sifa cannot really economically maintain... Sifa and Maki cannot really economically maintain some of these colonies, which is going to cause a lot of problems. So this is, Yaki, that's the country name. They're now an independent country. Sifa is going to fall into a civil war. They do not actually, however, lose this colony here in Africa. Sifa, however, is going to fall into a civil war. A new radical ideology created by Lee Zemin, who was a revolutionary in Japan, or Sunni. Here, they start to basically, revolt here. Basically, this is the first communist revolt here, and they are being outnumbered massively, as the people do not really approve of the Sifi's monarchy, and they do not really approve of this country's government here, so as well. Meanwhile, the Farmers Union also declares war to basically push down, and the Sifi's monarchy is not really doing too well. The monarch decides to take his own wife, because they know that once this new government is going to come around, that they're going to imprison him, basically, as well. So basically, this is the end result of the war. The Sifi's Social Republic was created. As well. So the Sifi's Social Republic was created. As well. And the Farmers Union also annexes this land here. And they also finally annexed these 2 areas here. Finally fixing the borders here. And the Union Farmers exercise to finally give them a name of themselves, as they've been independent for so long. We're actually going to give them a name. Rizzi is this country's name as well. And also we have Rin, which is this country's name right here. But the Sifis SR is a formed country. And the Sifis SR want to take out Sinan. Yeah, so they invade Sinan with the army because they believe Sinan should be there. Sinan surrenders, and Sinan becomes a SR, basically, of this country, and that's what happens to this country right here. They are annexed into here because this country's whole goal, this movement's whole goal, is to unite Asia under communism, which isn't really a very respectable goal. Here, but the Sifis SR takes out the small and weaker country. Maki, Caesar, and Rizzi and all the bordering countries economically sanction it as well. Here. Also, Kanto, they can't really control this island anymore, so the island votes to actually remain with Kanto. So they actually vote to remain. So this is actually what last true colony Kanto really has, as they lost a lot of influence to Mazia as well. Meanwhile, Rufu, they start to annex a lot of this. They start to co-op a lot of the land, but a lot of the people in the annexed land are not very too happy. A lot of people in this Siberia region are very ethnically different than most of the people in Rufu. This causes a rebellion on the mass. However, the government they choose is a new government. It has only been tried several times with the democratic government, but this country now breaks away and is one of the biggest countries in the world, but it's one of the least populated countries in the world. This is the country of Savisi. This country is very culturally different from the rest of Rufu, and the capital is down here, because that is the largest city, so they picked this capital down here because most of this land is useless anyways, as well. Meanwhile, the Sifis SR, the old Sifis government does, however, put a hold onto this here. This is gonna be the exile government here, as this country wants nothing to do with it. So this is this original Sifa, and this is the exile government, because the king's son fled the country, so they fled to Africa and declared their independence. And the communists said, "Screw that! Well, we don't care about you all too much," which means Sifa's in Africa. Then what about this Congo country? This is basically the biggest pothole. This country is actually under the protection, or was under the protection of Kanto. However, this large, massive colony, Kanto got to keep. Yes, Kanto got to keep this large, massive colony, which a lot of people said, yes, they could keep this large, massive Congo colony, Nihil, because they didn't want to have to, give it to, like, Baihu or Novo. That would be giving Novo too much power here. But they do finally decide to say yes, because no one really governs it. That was always planned to be split up. They just said, you know what, let's give this native country this land. And that was the biggest pothole of the last episode. Sorry here. So they finally give the native people the land. So Zonio is now an independent state, because this country will be used as a buffer state between Gaza and these countries down here. So this is actually another independent state in Africa. We'll see if they last as well, because Zonio has various separate ethnicities that are very separate from the rest of the state as well. But the Asians opt with the other plan. They don't want to, and the Europeans don't like that plan, so that was the first plan, but they're going to go with plan B. They're going to split it amongst themselves, so this country right here, which is Bisa, they don't really have much colonial offerings in Africa, So they will annex a lot of here, 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 and Waihu will annex the central portion here, here. So basically, they're screwing over this country here, and Sifu will not gain anything, and the rest of us will go to the Indian country, and this area will become an independent state. Yes, they're gonna really give this real area an independent state, which Zonio does not like this idea. They do not like this plan, but this is the plan the Europeans and the Asian countries go by. So this country is now an independent state, though right here. Oh, that's the country we use. Vani is now an independent state, and this country is right here. So this is the country that is basically an independent state here, and basically this area is entirely controlled by Bisa. Meanwhile, Gasa is continuing to struggle to hold on to this area here as well. But meanwhile, in Europe, they're struggling. They have a very poor economy. People want revenge against the other government. So Fry elects the Fry basically goes against two extremist governments. The first is a communist, Jacob Seaton, who is a communist, and of course we have the fascists, Noble Taman. Okay, the fascists won with 46% of the vote. Okay, so this is the first fascist government in the world, and it's in Europe. So Fry becomes a fascist government, and they demand Warpy to give back the land. Warpy says no. So Nastia says, you know what? This was always historically Fry and land. So Nastia, with the help of Fry, declare war and fight Warpy for this land. Warpy does not like this. They do not like the fact that they're being humiliated by Nastia and Warpy because they want their own land back. So Fry says, you know what, fine. You can have the northern part of the country back as well. Which means soon it will be time for them to get the revenge on Asgarcia. Niastia does, however, abide with, giving back the land. So, yeah. So Fry's land is given back as well. And instead, Niastia will surrender they won't surrender any land, but they will basically, hey, we forgive you for basically signing against you, because we used to be allies, and we will be, create a non-aggression pact with each other. That's what they do here. Meanwhile, Equal is falling to a revolution. Yes, it's a revolution. Yeah, Equal has been economically destroyed, and this is yet another communist revolution. And this country basically turns into the Equis SSR. This country calls it Soviet Equal. That's what the country calls itself. And basically, this is the two only communist governments in the world ally with each other because they basically create a communist alliance here. And they create a Sokol alliance. We'll be using the Sokol squad. Okay, we're using a different color. This is the Sokol alliance, and And this is basically the first true alliance since the war ended. Another country has been struggling is Pentanovan, which they have struggled with losing a lot of the land as well. Pentanovan was not split up apart, but they do not really care about losing the land. They actually become more democratic, allowing the people in these areas, the ethnicities in these areas, to have equal rights and equal footing. Because basically the government is 65% Pentanovese and 30% the minorities here, and 5% immigrant ethnicities from Gatana, Demonia, Kanoria, Truna, Mai, this country, and even Gasa and Renan. Renan, as well as Osai. But however, there is a large minority people here, because basically over decades, these people have basically formed their own ethnicity and culture. However, which consists of Mayan cultures and Truna cultures. However, these people have never been, they were not united with the rest of the people. But basically, Pentanovan basically says, hey, we'll give you guys a chance to have a sort of government. So basically, the country becomes the federation of Pentanovan, Truna, and Mayan people as well, becoming a more democratic government overall. Meanwhile, another country will gain its independence. So basically, another country declares its independence, and this is actually going to be a fight for independence, as the SSR does not really want to let this one colony go. Yes, they don't want to let this random colony go, even though they really don't need it, basically. So they're going to fight for their independence. So because these countries don't want it, these guys over here do not really like the government here. They want a democratic government, not a socialist government, which is what the authority has. So they start, but they're not really winning all too much. Okay, they do try to make a few landings here, but this country basically is an independent country. They win at the very end. And Ainu is now an independent state, separate from the Chinese country. So that means Central America is not divided like in our world, but it is one country here. Same thing happens with a war between Warpy and Asgarcia, mostly over colonial ranges. So Asgarcia controls a large portion over here. Yeah, and they also control this little area here. So basically, both countries are going to fight over colonial claims in North America. Yep. So Warpy declares war on Asgarcia. The Asgarcian king was very surprised by this. So Warpy starts to move in the troops to the towns they own here to cut off the northern area furthermore from the southern area, and they also bring in the colonial military to basically push these guys out. Warpy also starts to fight in this front here. However, this area is much more defended here, so it's very hard to move in this area here. So here, and the main focus is down here, not up there, but there is some movement up there, but most of the focus is pushing here. Neostia, however, sides against Warpy, which causes them to not really push anymore down there, but they do start to push here because there's like no one lives here. So they're just pushing into like towns like 200 to 300 people that no one lives in here. But basically nobody lives up here. But they just start to push into more populated areas here. And this becomes a problem once they start to move in to this lake area here and more populated areas here, as they are starting to not really advance. here. Also, I don't think anyone owns. Oh, this is an island here. Meanwhile, this island is taken out very quickly, and Warpy is starting to lose the war. Yes, they're starting to lose this war here as well. And also there's a colonial war in Africa, and Warpy basically got the colony cut off, and the African colony completely surrenders as well. The king of Warpy is absolutely upset about this, because he wasn't expecting to lose to a quote-unquote weak country here, and they start to push into the actual land that actually matters here, and into the more populated territories, the land that actually matters here. So they start to take out a lot of this land here where most of the population lives, and they start to take out here as well. Then they also start to move back up here, and they basically surrender. So this is the war. This is the end result of the war here. So Warpy gets to lose the entire African colony. To Asgarcia. Which means we don't have to have these black lines anymore to differentiate Tavian and Warpian territory as well. Also, Asgarcia does buy land from Tavi to connect the coast easier. And Tavi decides to... It's basically a swapping of land. They get to have access over here. So basically to the exchange of land here. But the biggest losses are in North America. This colony gains its independence. Yes, this little colony here gains its independence as well. So they get to keep the culture and everything. They are basically released as a puppet state. And this is the first example of this. This is a puppet state of Boston as well. And they're a puppet state of this country here. This southern area here will be annexed. Basically giving Asgarcia Canada. That's basically what Asgarcia is created. And also they get to annex all this Arctic land here. Which the Warpian government is not really too fond of this. They want to basically connect the colony here, but this causes riots in the Warpians here, because Warpy want to be a global superpower, and also they have to be releasing Iceland as well. They release Iceland, where this is the final straw for the Warpian government here. Wan is an independent state, so the Warpian government descends into civil war as well. Warpian government descends into mass unrest and civil war. This is basically because the fascists want to take over the country. And also there's a northern rebellion here. So the Warpian fascists want to take over the country. They basically, instead of having an elected government, and this entire war starts a Great Depression. Yes, this entire war starts a Great Depression as the people... Like, not like people being depressed, but like economic depression. These people out of one, Warpy is one of the most economically influenced countries in Europe. Okay, and this causes even more chaos to it. So, as now the world economy has crashed as a result of this civil war. Yes, the world economy has collapsed, and Fry will aid the rebels. As they want to get revenge against Warpy. They want to get revenge against this country. So the Warpian government basically blasts Fry for supporting this. But they aren't too surprised, as Fry has always been on the back wheel, gained revenge on Warpy, It's funny, all four of these countries used to be friends. They used to be allies, and now they're all like enemies now. So the fascists basically control most of the country. The Irish country, however, wants some land here, so they start to invade as well. Some land here, and they start to invade parts of Scotland to keep basically this area separated, and the war commences and is over. So Warpy will no longer exist as a country. The Irish nation will gain and will become one of the dominant powers of Europe. And they'll also gain Wales. Warpy will be utterly destroyed as well. And the country color will change to the Warpy Empire. And the Warpy, they want to gain back their former lands and the former glory. That's basically what the movement wants. Meanwhile, all these islands, which used to be in independent states, Galway is now an independent state, and the Irish country controls a lot as well. Chester is now an independent, is the Irish country's name, so that's the country's name from now on. Meanwhile, more instability happens as well, as another country looks to expand. Not Japan. There's own this part because of a peace treaty. And after a while, Sunni actually releases the Korean state as well. So June is an independent nation. But Kanto, they're not allowed to remilitarize. But Kanto elects a new government, a far more totalitarian government, and basically it's like North Korea now. Okay, they elect a far more totalitarian government, and the first target is bringing back Mesa under the control. Mesa is way less populated. Mesa only has 5 million people, meanwhile Kanto has around 57 million people. So Mesa wants help. So Sunni, a very powerful country, sends troops and volunteers along with Riku and Zune and Tavi, because they don't want Kanto to regain back any power. But Kanto starts to invade Mesa, and the capital is surrounded relatively quickly as well. Kanto was preparing for this for like 2 decades, so they start to invade here and as well. So Mesa is being invaded relatively quickly, and the capital is taken over, and the country surrenders. Kanto has been put under harsh scrutiny for this decision, as Mesa was an independent country that wanted to be separate from Kanto, but Kanto just couldn't accept the fact that this is an independent state. So Mesa is defeated and annexed right back into the Kantese Empire. Yes, this Kanto declares itself an empire, the Empire of Kanto. The Empire of Kanto is born. The next target is taking out June, where they start a battle against June, and they want to take it out. Basically, Kanto is going to be like Japan in our timeline. They're going to be like Japan. Fry and Warpy are going to be like Italy and Germany in this timeline. But there will be a new power but another country that will collapse as well will be Gaza. So Gaza has a lot of influence, but there has been a lot of rebels up here, and here. So basically, Gaza has 2 sons. Okay, both are very radical. One is a communist and one is a fascist son. Okay, the fascist son basically wants to create an alliance with Kanto and rule the world. And they want to suppress any minorities rising up. Very similar to a guy with a skinny mustache from Austria that wanted to be a painter. Communist wants to basically unite, release all the countries as puppets, but basically force them to become communists. So, which basically the Sons fight to the death, and the fascist wins. So basically, yeah, a lot of the minorities have been trying to gain their independence for decades and centuries. Well, yeah, you know what's gonna happen to them. And we're gonna leave that at the end of this video here. And can anyone stop fascism and communism from rising? Can democracy prevail? And that's about this video here. Goodbye.